Love that one. I love me some Matt Schneidman, too. Welcome back inside Wisconsin Sports.
Speaking
Trevor
of G's.
and Josh, what a G. Dude, you're a G. Schneid's a G. Schneid, what's a G?
I would say a G is a couple different things. It can be a gangster. It can be a Green Bay Packer. I am neither of those things. I'm just a lowly reporter. You know, it was funny. I don't know why I just thought of this, but I wear my Syracuse jacket. It's like my winter coat. I have like an actual beige pea coat, but it's pretty clunky. It's big, and I want it to be a little more comfortable for the game. Sometimes I wear like a suit and the pea coat. I just wore like a normal jeans, polo, and my lighter winter Syracuse jacket. But it was so cold even inside the stadium on Sunday night that I went into the locker room wearing it. And I had gotten a couple comments throughout the week about, you know, wearing Chicago Bears colors during Bears week. And obviously people are just giving me crap. Brian Gutekunst walks right by me in the locker room and goes, Matt, you can't be wearing those colors in this locker room. He's just giving me a hard time, but that was funny.
Yeah, maybe you're not a G. Now that I think about it, that's
no, maybe not.
That's a weird move.
It's a B. B for Bears, I guess. I don't know. All right, Schneid, Bears, Packers, a lot went right. Should we be confident?
Absolutely. The team's in first place. They're 9-3-1. You can always pick holes in this team, but especially in a league where there are no clear-cut, Super Bowl favorites, meaning there aren't one or two teams at the top. There's some more parity in the league this year. You got to be confident. You got to be happy about what this Packers team has done. Sure, you can look back and say, oh my God, our losses are to the Browns and to an Eagles team that's fumbling. We have 3 losses by 3 points each and a tie. But you got to be happy with what this Packers team has done for no reason more than they're 4-0 in the division a year after they went 1-5. I mean, that's incredible already. Even if they were to lose their final 2 games in the division, which I don't think they will. Got a tough stretch coming up with the Broncos, who Matt Laflur yesterday called the top-ranked team in the NFL. I don't know if that's technically true. We'll see what the Athletics power rankings say today. But a couple important games left, but you got to be happy with what you've seen so far.
Matt, before the Packers and Bears game, we had asked you, do you think the Bears are legit? I know a few people, specifically on this show, said yesterday that they thought after the Packers beat the Bears, it proved that the Bears are frauds and that they are not legit. Were your feelings on the Bears before round 2 swayed at all by what happened in the game in round 1?
They're legit. They're absolutely legit. And I think to see kind of how they managed that game and Caleb, obviously Ben Johnson had said earlier in the week that they had been winning in spite of their passing game. Caleb backed up what Matt Lafleur said earlier in the week in terms of he can be a magician when he escapes the pocket and makes plays. He did that a handful of times. It wasn't pretty at all times, but I think that guy's going to be a problem for years to come. They ran the ball well. I know people are talking about how the Packers didn't give up an explosive run. And I think McAfee had the stat on his show yesterday about the Bears had at least 2 explosive runs in every game this season, and the Packers didn't allow any. But the Packers still gave up 138 yards on the ground without giving up an explosive run. And to me, it was, and this was kind of like what happened in the Giants game, it was 6, 6, 5, 4, 5, 6 instead of 1, 2, 25. And the first one is almost worse because it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. So I thought that's me saying I was impressed with the Bears offense, especially in the second half. They obviously got the early takeaway. I think this team's not going away. Ben Johnson has them prepared differently, and that was evident in how the players talked after the game. Keyshawn Nixon, Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs. They were heaping praise on Ben Johnson and the Bears and how different that team feels and looks.
Wisconsin Sports Radio Network guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. That's Matt Schneidman from The Athletic and co-host of the Tundra podcast with John Kuhn. That's it. John Kuhn. Yep. New episode today, I believe. Watch for that wherever you listen to podcasts. Schneid, we're talking about if you had a pair of tickets and which stadium you could go to, all expenses paid, out of these last 4. I know that you're not a fan and you don't sit in the seats, but you have been to every NFL stadium.
No,
Where
not
would you
everyone, not everyone, but
really?
almost.
Which ones have you missed?
Sorry, go ahead. Finish your question first.
Oh, this is going to be a bad question if you haven't been to one of these 4. Denver? Been there?
Yes.
US Bank Stadium you've been
The
at.
2 I haven't been to are New England and New Orleans. And the Packers have never been scheduled to play at New England in my 7 years covering the team. They were scheduled to play at New Orleans twice. One of them, well, they did play at New Orleans once, but it was during COVID, so I wasn't traveling to games. And then the other one was the 2021 opener when a hurricane moved the game to Jacksonville, and they lost 38-3. So I haven't been to New Orleans or New England. And when I say I've been to Houston and Indianapolis, it's for things other than Packers games. I've been to the Indy Stadium for the Combine. I covered Syracuse basketball in the 2016 Final Four as a junior student reporter in NRG Stadium. So in terms of seeing the stadiums, it's just New England and New Orleans. But if I had to choose one of the Final Four, I mean, Denver is great because one of my best friends from college lives in Denver, so I'll get to see him and his new kid there this weekend. Chicago is the worst stadium in terms of press box food, where I judge my stadiums based on, is it open air press box or not? Do you feel like part of the game environment? I like when it's like that in Detroit, Minnesota, stuff like that. I judge it by the press box food spread. I judge it by where the press box is seated, so the angle you have viewing the game. Chicago's 30-second. So I could care less about there, although it is nice that I can just drive there. Minnesota, I would say, is the best for the, game day viewing, but the press box is also in the corner of one of the end zones. So that's not great. So if I had to choose, I would choose Lambeau Field, because I just have to drive 12 minutes to that game.
There you go.
The Ravens.
There you go.
There you go. Matt, we talked yesterday, and we're going to get into it a little bit more after we're done with you here. So I want to get your opinion on this, on just Micah Parsons being held. It was obviously a big part of the game against the Bears. They had it on the big screen during, I believe it was like the 2-minute warning. They were showing like replays of Micah Parsons being held. Micah Parsons was asked about being held and it not getting called after the game. And we were trying to figure out, so what's the solution to the fact that he's getting held and it's not getting called? What do the Packers do to change that?
I'm not sure there is anything we can do. And I feel like we're regurgitating a storyline that's been with him his whole career. And it's just like it's transferred from Dallas to Green Bay now. And that's what Micah said after the game. I don't know if you guys played the audio, but he said this has been the story of his career and he's immune to it at this point. We had this same discussion earlier in the season, I think before they went to Arizona and played the Cardinals. And Matt Laflur talked about how he would have a discussion with the officials before the game. And I think we saw a hold called on Micah against the guy who was blocking Micah Parsons that game. Maybe it's just continuing to have those conversations and praying that the refs make a call. But at this point, and Micah said it, he knows he's not going to get the calls. So there's nothing he can do about it except continuing to fight through kind of those illegal blocks. And I hate being a guy who mentions the refs or complains about the refs. It's the hard-O journalist in me. I like to stay neutral, but except for when it's egregious. And some of these are egregious. And if you were in the stadium, for anyone listening to this on Sunday, during the 2-minute timeout in the fourth quarter, the stadium over and over and over on the Jumbotron played a slow-mo replay of Darnell Wright with Micah Parsons in a chokehold. And the entire stadium was booing. And I just thought that was funny because even the, stadium electronics
stadium ops,
people are stadium ops people, that's the word I was looking for, are getting in on it. But at this point, I don't know if there's anything you can do because this has been his whole career. You've already emphasized it to the refs earlier this season. By the letter of the law, what opposing offensive linemen are doing to Micah Parsons is not legal. So, I mean, maybe it changes, but can you imagine how different of a game all these games would be if they called just 2 or 3 of these and how much those would set opposing offenses back?
Huge.
And look, let me add this. It's not like refs have let the Packers get away with that either. Rasheed Walker's got away with some. I'm sure every offensive lineman has. I'm sure every offensive lineman around the league has. It's just probably more prevalent with this guy because of how good he is.
There's a guy on the other side of the ball that's playing really, really well. And you brought it up yesterday in Matt Lafleur's presser, and you asked Matt about Love and his MVP performance so far. Here is what Matt Lafleur had to say, was shot with Schneid's question about, is he an MVP? Is he not? Where does he land?
He's playing really good football right now. And that's obviously important. And it's going to be important moving forward because, like I mentioned, we got a hell of a test. I mean, this defense is they're for real. So one of the top defenses in the league.
Schneid, is he the MVP?
No, he's not the MVP. He's one of the front runners for MVP. Matthew Stafford and Drake May, I think, are ahead of the pack right now, pun intended, I guess. But Jordan Love's not far behind. And let me preface it by saying I don't watch the other team. I mean, I watch football every week, but I haven't watched Matthew Stafford and Drake May ad nauseum this week. But I think the odds are an accurate reflection of where it stands. I think at Pato, Stafford was minus 167, Drake May was plus 200, Love was plus 900, then Josh Allen was plus 1,400. Those are the four with a realistic shot to get it. I will say this, though. Still plenty of season left. And if Jordan Love goes to Denver against that defense and carves them up, he launches his name right into the heat of that conversation. Still not a favorite, probably. It would take somewhat of a collapse from the other two guys, but Jordan Love's playing great ball. Whether he's the MVP favorite or, the top three are finalists for the award, he could very well be an MVP finalist. What is clear is that he's playing MVP caliber football. And it's in whatever metric you look at. Overall, he's fourth in passer rating. These stats I got before last night's game, I don't know if they've changed. Fourth in passer rating. He's second in EPA per dropback. He's fourth in on-target percentage. Against the blitz, he's first in EPA per dropback, first in on-target percentage, fourth in passer rating. Like, this guy is playing incredible football. And as Micah Parsons said, it's been without his full complement of wide receivers for pretty much the entire season.
Yeah, I mean, God bless Toyotathon, I think that's the main takeaway. Matt, I think that from a fan perspective, at least for me, it's been very difficult to focus on the Broncos. And I know that we still have a few days before they're going to play, but this essentially with one game in between back to back with Chicago seems to be the big focus coming off of the win against them at Lambeau. The Bears were like, I think that it's undeniable that we're better now. We'll look to see them when they come to Chicago. The Packers, all their answers were, well, we can't let off the gas. We're going to see these guys again in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. How does this Packers team focus on the Broncos, not looking too far ahead to that Bears game? And what do you think needs to be the main thing that this Packers team does to beat a very, very good Denver Bronco team?
Yeah, I think it might be different if this was like the Las Vegas Raiders or the Minnesota Vikings or Washington Commanders that the Packers were playing. It would be easier maybe to naturally overlook this game. I'm not saying the Packers would do that anyway, but it would be easier to kind of let that sink in with what awaits in week 16 in Chicago. It's an 11-2 team. This is the number one seed in the AFC. Sure, it's not a division opponent, but the Packers should, and I don't think will, have any problem getting up for this game. Keyshawn Nixon talking after the game, he did mention that Chicago game in 2 weeks and how they have to play the same way there, but he also mentioned the Denver game first. Matt Lafleur, as I mentioned yesterday, said, this is a hell of a test. This is a top-ranked team in the NFL. I don't think there's any looking past this Denver Broncos team. You can't, because this is another chance to get a win, even if it's not in conference or in division, and solidify yourselves as a legitimate Super Bowl contender, even though I think the Packers are already that. What they have to watch out for, this defense. They're on pace to break the, I think, all-time record for sacks in a season. They have great depth in their pass rush. They're tops of the league in almost every important defensive category, near the top of the league, I should say. They're really good. Like, the Packers are first in preventing explosive plays and explosive play rate allowed. The Broncos are fourth. So this might be another game in which Jordan Love has to kind of take the checkdowns, take what's available, be patient. But it's also going to be tough to run the ball, to move the ball downfield, because the Broncos are second in rush defense. So that's why I said if Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love and the Packers offense can make a statement here, then they're legitimately for real, even though I think they are already.
Schneid, one more, and then we'll let you go. Packers are first place. NFC North control their own destiny with a little help from the Rams to be the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Yet a mere 4 weeks ago, we were talking on this very radio program that Matt Laflur should probably be fired. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, in a presser, you asked him if he thought he was coaching for his job. Is that all forgiven and forgotten at this point? Or is there still some things that we have questions on in regards to how Matt Lafleur is getting this team ready earlier in the season? Because they seem hot now, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, well, my line of questioning was not to say I thought he should be fired or that I thought he would be.
No, that was on us. I'll give you that.
No, I just wanted to clarify. I was just going off what I was told earlier in the season, and that was if they missed the playoffs or even maybe went one and done and kind of plateaued as a team over this 3-year stretch, then his job would be in question. So that's why I thought it was a fair line of questioning. I think I would reserve judgment on what I thought the Packers should do until after the season ended, whenever that ended. I think what he's done since then, since that Eagles game, has been awesome for the Packers and him. He's been really, really good. So that being said, still 4 games left, still the playoffs left. They could win 3 out of their final 4 and go one and done. And Ed Policy could be like, maybe he's just not the guy to get us over the top. I'm not saying that would be right. Ed Policy could also say, you know, he's our best shot to do this thing. Maybe it's not on Lafleur that they go one and done again. Maybe it's on someone else in that game. Like it's never black and white in this league. But as you guys know, if there is a scapegoat, sometimes it's the head coach or a coordinator, and he happens to be both. So I think ultimately it comes down to how far they go in the playoffs. It might not even come down to that. If they miss the playoffs, he's gone, but I don't think they're going to. If they go one and done, maybe it's a question in Ed Policy's head, but man, Matt Lafleur sure is making it hard for Ed to do anything else than extend him, regardless of how early they exit the playoffs. If they exit the playoffs, they might be hoisting the Lombardi in Santa Clara.
There you go. Hell yeah.
Possible. I could see it.
Me too.
If they miss the playoffs and there's a show that very next day, like there's going to be, if hypothetically this happens, you're coming on the show. Because we're not doing that one alone. That's going to be bad.
Hey, Matt, remember when?
Yeah. We got the audio. We'll save it. Matt Schneidman from The Athletic and the Tundra Podcast. Look for the new episode along with him and John Kuhn today. Schneid, we appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt.